And right now we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick alongside Christine Aquino here to take you through to that closing bell. It's a global simulcast. Carol Massar joins us from the radio room. Emily Greifeld by our side. Tim Stenovec and Katie Greifeld have the day off. Welcome to our audiences across all of our Bloomberg platforms, television, radio, and our partnership with YouTube on a Monday that I think a lot of investors, Carol Massar, would like to forget.
Yeah, exactly. I heard you talking about this big report, right, by Citrini Research, and certainly kind of, weighing on the trade, the AI scare trade. It's fascinating how they're thinking kind of 2 years ahead, Emily, right? We were just talking about this. Who knows how any of this will play out? Many experts in the AI world or the AI investing world says there's still a lot to be known about the AI impact.
And that report starts with a question here. What if our AI bullishness continues to be right? And what if that's actually bearish? And you could see that trade across assets that it was a very risk-off day in the market.
Yeah, well, Emily, again, right, a report like this very much at the heart of what we're seeing in markets at the moment. A big divergence, a lot of winners, a lot of losers. And a big question here for me is really, how does this affect that cyclical rotation that we're seeing, even within the AI or, tech-related names? Some of those software companies not faring very well indeed.
And also, we talk about that cyclical trade. I mean, this is one of those down days where you actually are seeing the Russell 2000, the S&P 400 mid-cap actually declining more than the broader market. So typically when you've had these sell-offs, at least over the last few months, it's been sort of more of a rotation rather than a sell-off money coming out of big tech and maybe going into something smaller. Not necessarily the case today, though we should point out only about 70% of the stocks in the S&P are down on the day. So not a massive broad-based sell-off, but definitely something with a slightly different complexion than what we've seen in the past. The S&P 500 is going to settle lower by about 70 points or so, down about 1% on the day and closing just a smidge above that 100-day moving average. The Dow down more than 800 points or 1.7%. The NASDAQ composite losing about 258 points or 1.1%, while the Russell 2000 closing out the day shedding about 43 points or 1.6%.
Romaine, I'm going to go back to what you just said. Most names in the S&P 500 are lower today. 329 names actually losing ground on this Monday, 172 to the upside, and you've got 2 unchanged.
All right, let's take a look at the circle, as Katie Greifeld would say here, on a day where, believe it or not, there were actually about half of the indices in the green. That includes consumer staples. It includes healthcare. It includes utilities. It includes energy, and it includes real estate. Of course, those are the more defensive sectors, and more importantly, those, of course, are not the heaviest weighted sectors. That was financials, discretionary, and industrials to the downside. Tech as a group down 1.1%.
All right, guys, let's go to some of the individual gainers in today's session, and that includes Eli Lilly. You did see that stock gaining about 4.8% in today's session. Double dose of news today, sending shares of Lilly higher today. First up, the early morning news that Novo Nordisk's next generation obesity shot falling short of Eli Lilly's blockbuster rival drug. So that certainly weighed on Novo, but gave some momentum to the upside for Eli Lilly. They continue to really dominate in the GLP-1 space. We were just talking with our Madison Muller. Secondly, the FDA has approved a label expansion for Zepbound, which is, of course, Eli Lilly's drug, to include the 4-dose single patient use quick pen. It just gives basically patients another way to use their medication. So that was seen certainly as a plus side for Eli Lilly. Let's go to a name we don't talk about a lot, Arcelix. Ticker's ACLX. This one definitely rallying in today's session, up about 77% here at the close after Gilead Sciences agreed to buy this U.S. cancer-focused biotech for as much as $7.8 billion as it looks to boost its drug pipeline. So we've often seen this move among some of the drug players. Gilead, which owns about 11.5% of Arcelix's outstanding stock, will pay $115 per share in cash with a contingent payment of $5 per share dependent on future sales. That was the statement it put out. The price, though, is almost double Arcelix's Friday closing price. And then Domino's Pizza, up more than 7% at its highs today, but finishing with a gain of about 4% in today's session after the company reported a larger than expected rise in comparable sales as consumers were drawn to the pizza chain's budget-friendly pies. So that include stuffed crust pizzas and its best deal ever pizza promotion.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Love me some pizza.
not all
When was the last time
delivery
you had
related.
Domino's, Carol Massar?
It's been a while.
Did you get it delivered?
No, it's been a while but I've had other pizza delivered.
Okay, well, speaking of
Romaine knows
food
me.
deliveries, we saw a big sell-off here in any delivery payments and software stocks. Wanted to highlight DoorDash. That stock was down over 6%, and all coming after that report we were talking about from Citrini Research, where they lay out the potential risks that AI could pose to various segments of the global economy. It's a situation where a lot of white-collar jobs would be replaced by AI. And they said prepare for potential left-tail risks as AI makes the economy increasingly weird. I also want to point out shares of
I'm sorry,
Gap.
what?
Yeah, that's what they said.
Weird?
Increasingly weird. They used the word weird.
Okay.
Weird.
Interesting.
Weird things are going on, Romaine. I don't know. Maybe AI had a hand in writing this, and that's the word that they came up with. Not quite sure. But Citrini Research. Okay, also looking at shares of Gap, that stock falling, closing the day down about 6%. We saw a lot of retailers, Gap was one of them, closing after Trump said he will increase the global U.S. tariff rate to 15%. Gap was one of the worst performers among its peers, with trading volumes about double the average for a normal day. And then finally, IBM shares sinking 13%, biggest one-day decline in this stock since 2000. The shares plunging after the AI startup Anthropic said that its Claude Code tool can help with modernizing COBOL, I think I'm saying that right, which is a dated programming language that's mainly run on IBM computers. So a big shock here too. Again, speaking to that AI trade and the AI disruption, Romaine.
Yeah, I do want to take a look at yields for a second, though. And right before we came to you, we had the CIO of Citizens Private Wealth was talking about a bit more of an embrace here of bonds. And you certainly saw that here on this day, probably one of the more meaningful moves we've seen with regards to prices, meaning prices going up and yields going down. Your 10-year down about 5 basis points here on the day, 4 basis points on your 2-year yield, and about 2 basis points on your 30-year yield. So a bit of a shift down, not quite fully parallel, but a bit of a shift down in the yield curve here on this Monday afternoon.
All right, so an interesting day, certainly when it comes to the trade, and we're focused on that report, but we've all also been focused on what's been happening outside this headquarters and studios, and that is the snowstorm, which we know New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani has lifted the directive that closed streets, highways, and bridges to most traffic. I know when I came in here this morning, it was still blustery. You couldn't see, more than a block ahead. I mean, it was kind of crazy, and I don't know if you guys did any kind of shoveling, but it was just amazing how fast the snow was coming down.
Yeah, no shoveling for me, Carol, but I did have to drive through the snow earlier, and I probably am one of the cars that you see driving through that in our footage right now. But yeah, it's a lot out there. It's very interesting, though, because I've lived in the tropics for about a third of my life, so this is very much a new experience for me. It looks enjoyable if you're inside and not having to deal with it outside.
Well, Christine, my advice to you is to bundle up, wear pants. When I was on my way to the office this morning,
That's good advice.
Serious, I saw someone wearing shorts, jogging in shorts during the blizzard.
Let's face it, there's always that one guy
always
or person,
that
always
one.
one person. I don't know what they're trying to prove. But I mean, in all seriousness, we should point out too,
Yeah.
I mean, there was a travel ban that went into a place late last night that has now apparently been lifted or is being lifted here. So non-essential cars can be back on the road. And as you can see with some of the pictures that we showed, particularly of the West Side Highway and others, some of the roads are starting to look a little bit more clear and passable now. So hopefully we get back to some semblance of normalcy, at least in terms of commuting by tomorrow morning.
Yeah, and I have to say, I mean,
Yeah.
it was pretty windy out there. And so we did see about 500,000 homes and businesses across the Northeast that have lost power.
Yeah.
We're talking about 10,000 flights that have been, canceled. So a lot of economic activity that would normally go on. And really, you walk outside and there's just nothing happening.
Well, we'll see.
Or
We'll see if that continues, though, because I mean, if it's not a snow day tomorrow, the commute. Just imagine how challenging that's going to be. And of course, here in markets, there's going to be a lot going on as well. So I figured a lot of our traders and investors are going to have to make their way into the office tomorrow. That's going to be fun.
And the day's not over, so we're watching still the tallies. Right now, Central Park recording more than 15 inches, and this is set to be one of the worst blizzards in almost 50 years.
I just want to know, Romaine, did you build a snowman?
I did, actually.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Kind of warms my heart.
I took a picture of it.
All
I
right.
named it Carol.
Send it this way.